Everybody, Jordan. Oh, now we're recording. Perfect. Jordan at Maryland. I head up our research committee with Murray, and also kind of sit on the awards committee with Murray. So been excited to be a part of this process, and want to share just some of the sort of insights that we gathered that led to this decision, as Brad mentioned. So you probably remember, some of you probably participated in it, but I think it was in October, we launched a survey related to our awards processes as a association. So we did so, I think, because we'd all kind of heard some like anecdotal evidence about what people thought of the awards processes, and we wanted to not rely on that, obviously, because we're all in our little bubbles, but to either confirm or sort of negate some of that feedback that we had each gotten personally. So we executed a survey. It was very simple. I think it was 12 questions total, pretty basic, and it covered 3 of our awards processes. So Best of Awards, the Unity Award, and the Team of the Year Award. So what I wanted to do is just kind of go down a couple of the primary pieces of feedback or insights that we got across each of those areas. And I'll start with the Unity Award, just because it's the newest one. It's probably the survey showed it. It's the least familiar of all of our awards. But regardless, we wanted to get feedback on that as well. So the Unity Award, the first thing we asked about Unity Award, because we knew it was new, is whether you were familiar with it. And about 70% of people said they were familiar with it, which was lower than sort of our other scores. And we asked in each of these categories for people just to rank out of 10 what they thought of each of these processes. And the Unity Award scored a 7. I think there was a little bit of a lack of understanding of how it was judged, but there was an assumption, it felt like, an insight in the results, that it would get clearer as we did it for more and more years. But very favorable feedback in terms of it being a good addition to the awards that we offer. The second is Best of Awards. So that rated a 6 out of 10. So a little bit less than Unity Award. And obviously we're not trying to finish with a D. So that's not the best. And that's not exactly what we want to hear. The main piece of feedback for that was the timing of the process is challenging. The submission process is cumbersome, like how you actually submit. But that people felt like they appreciated that we tried to highlight strong work. And then moving on to the Team of the Year Award, this one rated a 5 out of 10, and we definitely don't want Fs. So that's not good. And we asked a question that was a little different for this one than the others, but we asked, why did you not submit if you didn't submit? And the answer was budgets, human resources. It takes way too long to put together a submission. We received a bunch of suggestions to award Team of the Year in groups, as we did the Best of Awards historically. And we actually asked, should we, at the end of the survey, we asked, should we award them in separate groups? And 85% of people said yes. So that was our most predominant piece of feedback that we received. So I think this confirmed a lot of our suspicions and some of that anecdotal evidence I mentioned earlier. So it informed our decision-making moving forward as a board, as a awards, and as a research committee to kind of refine how we do these awards. So that's a little bit of the background. I'm going to kick it back to Brad, who's going to talk about the actual nuts and bolts of the changes that we made.
Awesome. Excuse me. So hopefully what you heard, right, and Jordan and Murray did a lot of work on the research side in that space. And what you heard, I hope, was that the challenges were not with recognizing great work. It was with the process, right? And the fact that operationally and logistically, it was kind of a pain. Nothing said perfect timing, like trying to submit your awards in the first week of February when you're still on the back end of signing day and you're in the middle of crossover season again, and you're trying to be ready. And then you're trying to submit Marketing Team of the Year Award, and that's a 900-page document that takes a whole bunch of time that frankly nobody has. So where we wanted to get to, and really what we started with, the end goal in mind, was transparency in the process, which is pretty easy to say and hard to do. So I'm candidly, as somebody who is really excited about what we're doing with this, I feel good about the transparency aspect of this. I feel great about having 3 groups. We had a lot of debate and discussion, both as a NACMA board, and then even once we got survey results, as far as what does this mean? And we hope that it means that it highlights work in representative groups. And then within that, right? So we just want to make sure that we're very clear. There is no separate submission for marketing team of the year. Hopefully you saw that in the release and the information that came out. Everything is based on point scoring. So it's like the old BCS, except we're going to tell you how many points you actually get. There will be, again, it's 5 points, 3 points, and 1 point. And Murray will go into a lot of the details on it. But 5 points, 3 points, and 1 points for our main categories, and then 15, 10, and 5 for those overall best in class categories. It ends up getting you, if you were to win gold in every category we have in your respective group, you get 150 points and you go home with the trophy, right? That's all it is. So Murray, what are we missing that folks need to know as far as specifics and things coming down the line?
Yep. So Murray Littlepage, Assistant AD for Marketing Fan Engagement at Temple, co-chairing the awards committee with Jordan. So one of the things to note for the submissions, obviously Brad just touched on how they're broken down into categories. Within the fan development, brand management, revenue generation categories, your submissions should be 1 page in length. For the overall campaigns, kind of the best in class, those ones can be 3 pages long. So obviously when filling out and when putting your submissions together, please just make sure to keep that in mind. Another thing that is different / new this year, you can submit the same thing for multiple categories. So if you have a great basketball promotion that you want to submit for 2 different subcategories within, say, fan development and revenue generation, you can submit the same thing. Obviously, if you have a promotion that is good enough to win gold, silver, bronze in 2 different categories, and by all means, you should be able to submit for both. Just keep in mind that because of kind of the different categories that those will be in, they'll be judged differently. So it's very possible you can win gold in one thing and then not even place in the other for the exact same promotion. It all just has to do with kind of how each of those is going to be judged. And again, for judging information, kind of what we're looking for, how each of the subcategories are going to be judged. There's the judging criteria that was included in the initial email and can also be found on the website. So please just kind of keep that as a reference. Go there if you have any questions about what each of those categories, what we're looking for. And then again, that'll give you a better idea of what should be included in those submissions. I think that should be it, unless Brad, Jordan, I'm missing anything.
Jordan, anything from your side?
I guess the one thing we kind of said it, but like the categories are changing. Like we previously had 16 categories, and some of them have more or less carried over. But you should take a look at the criteria link that's on the NACMA website that lists off the criteria for the 20 categories. It was 16 categories before, and now it's 20. So we understand that's more categories. But there's also no submission whatsoever for marketing team of the year, as Brad mentioned. So that's a massive burden that is taken off. So just a note, they have changed too. So when you're deciding what you're going to submit for, it may not be the same type of things you submitted for historically. We changed a lot of them to kind of reflect the trends in the industry and the way we operate these days. So.
Awesome. Great. Well, probably the easiest thing, if anybody has questions, we understand it is a change, right? And some of it, just the release that we have, and Jessica, I think we're under that 8-minute mark, right? If anybody, we're not, damn. If anybody has specific questions, we're all in. But if you aren't, right, and if you don't have any, that's fine too. Again, a lot of the information is in that release, and in that information, it's not perfect. And we'll share more information as we get closer to the deadline. But anything in particular? And sorry, I know there's some in the chat.
There's a couple of things in chat. Yeah. So one of the questions in the chat is to confirm which are 1 pages and which are 3-page max. So 1-page max are the general category. So it's the 3 pillars of NACMA. And then there are some like best in class overall categories that we know are going to include constituent parts from the from fan development, revenue generation, from everything, and branding. So brand management. So those ones are 3 pages. So the idea behind the best class, and we talked a lot about this, was these are like the epitome of what we do as marketers is what these categories are supposed to be. That's why they're weighted more heavily. It's why we're allowing more length in terms of the submission. But these are like holistic, comprehensive campaigns that you're submitting. Whereas the other 3 categories that are based upon the NACMA pillars, those are much, should be, of course, comprehensive within their own right, but they're more specific to a specific campaign or initiative, as opposed to multiple initiatives that add up to a larger, like maybe department-wide campaign. So, so 3 for the best in class and 1 for the general pillar categories. There too. What else is in this chat
The
here?
other question was about, can we share do you have any examples of submission we can share? We don't, only because with this process being new, right? So you can look back at submissions that were there last year. And obviously in all of the information for each category, there's judging criteria and how that will be viewed. But there isn't necessarily an exact, hey, here's exactly what it could look like, should look like. We're kind of leaving that up to y'all.
And I would say too, like, I think if you go to our online library, you'll see previous year submissions. They're still there for you to look at. So you can even, and we actually, I don't have the link exactly, maybe we can find it by the end, but we also publish which awards win each year. So understanding that, particularly the best in class, there's not going to be probably an equivalent to this, but the idea isn't to necessarily completely change the format of the way people submit. So like, for example, at Maryland, we try to submit for most of these categories. We just like paste the text in the online library piece of content edition, whereas some other schools create a PDF that they then upload, and that's their submission with links and video links and all that stuff. So we're not giving any, like to Brad's point, there is no example of like, here's exactly what you should do to win. I think it's just submit what you think makes the most sense to exemplify how worthy your promotion is. And I think that can be in a different format. I think we're marketers, right? So the presentation is important, obviously, but the content is what really we're looking for. People can also just ask out loud too. I don't like, we kind of want to be a little more informal too. So the comments sorry, the chat's great, but if anyone just wants to throw out a question too, we can do that.
Yeah, so I think you answered one of my questions in terms of the submission. If it was the traditional, like copy paste the text and then you can upload photos to bring more context to the text, or if you guys were going to judge based on a graphic that has all that information. It sounds like either one will work.
I think that's fair. Yeah. Yeah.
And then one question from Stephanie in the chat: what does the judging process look like? So when all the submissions are collected, there will be judges assigned to all of the categories. They will rank submissions, which will assign points outside of the People's Choice ones, right? Those will be voted on by members, but they will assign points to it. And then basically, typically what happens if for some of you have been in the judging space, for some of you who have not, every category will have a quick call. We'll walk through it. Does anything seem off? Do the scores align correctly? And then points will be awarded at that point. So that process hasn't really changed comparatively. Again, for those who have served on the awards committee and the judging aspect before, it'll be very similar, just a slightly different vehicle that you're judging. Anybody else? All right.
Is there a tiebreaker?
So typically the tiebreaker, so if there's a across the board point, that's a great question. I'm gonna be honest. I don't know that we have one yet. Jordan Murray, do we have a tiebreaker?
No.
I think we'll lean towards schools in the ACC. I'm just kidding. No, that's a great point. So Drew, thank you for bringing that up. We will solve for that one. It may be probably the easiest route is to say who had the most golds, right? Like that's the most, again, if we're talking about transparency, which I have to say too, the group who had so many people, right, have had their hands in awards previously. They did an amazing job getting ready. Again, the challenge was just timing, which is not on anybody. That we just wanted to try to make it a little bit simpler in a timing wise perspective, but we will solve the tiebreaker deal and then figure out what that needs to be. But again, my gut reaction right now is number of golds takes the deal, kind of like the Olympics. All right, anybody else? Okay, great. Then we'll leave it for that. Certainly appreciate all of you making some time today and coming to learn more about it. Obviously, again, awards is a big deal. What NACMA does each year, and it's not to highlight NACMA, it's to highlight all of you, and then to use those awards to share in respective campuses to talk about the work that is being done from marketing and external groups across the country. So that's the why behind what we're doing it. But certainly appreciate all of you participating today and participating in the process. Again, huge thanks to everybody who's been involved in awards historically, both on the board and off the board, right? That takes a village to raise that thing, and it's not as easy as everybody would assume. I promise you that from seeing some of the folks on the board work on it firsthand. So they've done great work, and we're really excited about what it can be moving forward down the stretch here. Thanks, everybody.
Yeah, just a reminder, Unity Award deadline's April 1st. Best Sub Awards deadline is April 14th.
All right, great. Have a wonderful weekend. See ya.